Eric, back at it. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Great to be here.
Yep. AI in sales. There's a lot of fear and anxiety related to AI in sales right now. People are worried it's just going to replace their job or that it'll automate everything and there won't be a need for sales reps anymore. But the truth and what we're going to focus on talking about today is that AI will not replace every sales rep, but it's going to replace the sales reps that don't learn how to use AI. And that's really the shift that's happening right now. And it's happening fast. Sales is really shifting away from manual grind work to AI assisted workflows wherever possible. So sales reps using AI for repeated tasks like account research, cold emails, follow-ups, admin work. There's so much more. They're freeing up time to actually sell, and those are the reps that are going to win. So this is really a huge opportunity for the people who are paying attention and staying ahead while everyone else sleeps on it, because AI isn't going away. That's pretty clear at this point, and it's only going to become more embedded in the way we work. So the people who adapt early are going to build a massive advantage over the ones who are still sitting on the sidelines, which right now is most people. So in this episode, Eric and I were really just going to break down why ignoring AI in sales is going to put you behind. But more importantly, we'll actually walk through the specific workflows and use cases where AI is making the biggest impacts for sales reps right now. And we're actually going to live screen share demonstrations of two of these GPTs that we created that we use on our own day-to-day to show how good these outputs can be and how it's saving us up to 5 to 10 hours or more per week. But Eric, anything more you want to add on to that before we dive into it?
Yeah, I would just say for everyone listening, like I was a big time skeptic of AI myself. And what we're going to show here is not like 100-step end-to-end workflow. This is quite literally like the $20 plan on ChatGPT, the $20 plan on Claude. We're just interacting by giving it text instructions. And when you actually sit down with it, there's maybe a bit of a learning curve that takes like an hour or two. But once you get it really dialed in, and what we're going to show you today with actual screen shares of things we're doing in our day-to-day, it will blow your mind, and you will not see your day-to-day workflow the same way, seeing what ChatGPT and Claude can do for literally $20 a month.
Yep. An exciting announcement too before we get into it. We're announcing the launch of AI Sales Accelerator, which is a course community that we designed specifically to make sure that everyone in there is on the cutting edge of this AI trend. And it's really a no fluff, no BS course. There's tons of out-of-the-box GPTs. Again, we're going to show some today that we created and very carefully prompted to deliver high quality and repeatable outputs that you can immediately start plugging into your day-to-day. So cold email templates written in our frameworks, cold call scripts in the value statement framework, discovery call prep, account planning. And again, it's really instructed in our methodology, not just the standard ChatGPT prompt that you can do. So the cold call script assistant, for example, is trained in my value statement framework. And this isn't going to be a fluffy theory-based AI course. It's really how you can take what we've created and actually use what we use ourselves every single day to immediately save you insane amounts of time, but also dramatically improve your outputs in the process. And then finally, and most importantly, it is a community, and really our commitment is making sure that everyone in the group stays on the cutting edge of what's happening with AI in sales so that you're not left behind. That's something we'll be making sure of. So excited to see people in there. There's links in the description below to check that out. But Eric, to kick things off, I think we've reached the inflection point where AI is beyond just being a cool toy at this point, and watching some cool outputs when it initially came out. And there's been some really big unlocks for why AI has become really useful for sales reps. What have those unlocks been for you personally that you've seen and that you're using in your day-to-day?
Yeah. And again, for anybody who's seen higher levels, Connor and myself, like we're all about tactical advice that you can implement right away. And some of this is going to sound like theory, but it's actually really easy to implement. So bear with me here. The biggest unlock by far is in downtown Austin. I actually went to a free prompt engineering class. They have like this startup accelerator. They do free courses from different business leaders, technical leaders, and they gave a simple framework of how to better structure a prompt and also provide context. That has been the biggest thing by far. And just a very simple example, and it's literally taking an extra minute to go from like, hey, ChatGPT, I need you to structure an email using this template. And maybe it does that, maybe it's pretty good, versus like using a standard framework. One of many that is taught out there is called the STOK framework. So situation, task, objective, and knowledge. And it's the difference between saying, hey, create me an email for this persona, I sell at this company, and I generally structure my email this way, versus like, here's the situation. Like, I am the top sales rep at PagerDuty. I am selling into financial clients, specifically targeting these different personas, right? Very simple example. The task is, I need you to structure very high quality and custom emails for each persona based on a simple web search. The objective is like, the objective of this email is to create a meeting and or conversation via email with this prospect. I'll leave it to your judgment to determine if you want to ask for them to respond via email or set up a meeting, but let's experiment with both. And then the last one, K, or knowledge, is all of the knowledge of whether it's your own product or how those personas typically react and what they value from your tool, all of those different things. That's how you structure a very detailed prompt. And the best part is, as you might imagine, is you can use AI to do that for you. So there's a tool that I found in this prompt engineering course called promptcowboy.ai. If you've seen my channel, maybe Connor's channel at this point as well, we've talked about it a couple times here or there. As of right now, by the way, it's totally free. You just have to sign up with your Gmail and you give it a simple prompt like, I am the top sales rep at PagerDuty and I'm selling to financial banks in Manhattan that fit this criteria. And it actually takes that, what it calls a lazy prompt, and fits it to that situation, task, objective, knowledge framework and gives it a ton of detail in a matter of 15 seconds. That has by far been the biggest unlock. And maybe at some point too, just for everyone's reference, like I can share my screen and show exactly what I'm talking about. That kind of sounds like a mouthful. And if you're sitting there, you literally don't even have to type out a lengthier prompt. You just need to know the structure, and then you can use AI to take your simple ask and make it very detailed. And once you do that, once you provide it as an example, like sample emails or sample whatever it might be, like I even have a resume and a cover letter GPT I'm using for students in our platform. Once you give it examples, once you give it very clear deliverables, it takes 2 extra minutes and you get 100 times better the result. So that is the biggest unlock for me by far. In short, again, just summarizing, it's the quality of the prompt. But the best part is you can use AI to create those quality prompts and literally take 10 extra seconds to create the prompt and then just read through it and make sure it's really dialed in.
Yeah. When we talk about sales reps knowing how to use AI and how AI is going to replace the sales reps that don't, this is what knowing how to use AI means, is how to prompt it. And yes, you can use AI to help that, but also it's you and your own unique knowledge and experience that can teach these GPTs or these projects you create for yourself how to prompt it. Like, for example, if you're a brand new SDR, it's going to be hard for you to create some sort of GPT or project with strong instructions on how to cold call, because you don't have that experience in terms of the little details of how to adjust the prompt to give it exactly what you're looking for. So if you just go on ChatGPT right now and say, give me a really good cold call script, I work at HubSpot as an AE, give me a good cold call script for a VP of sales, it'll produce something cool, but you're still going to have to go in there and tweak it and adjust it. But me, for example, I hard coded the GPT on like the value statement framework. It should be who, why, what, assumptive language, concise. It should name industry specific priorities here, here, and here. I gave it specific examples of it should follow this exact framework. Don't deviate from it, so that I can now trust the outputs every single time. And that's just a cold call example. But really, I think the biggest unlock is any recurring or routine tasks. So whether that's creating templates for yourself, prepping for discovery calls, sending calendar invites, anything that's routine and recurring that you do consistently, you can take the time to create a project or a GPT with strong instructions that can really save you a lot of time and also give you much better outputs if you set it up the right way. So you do it once upfront really well, and then you can reap the rewards both from time savings and improved outputs following that. So I know we've covered some, and maybe here's where we can start to go into some of those examples, but what are some of the most valuable AI use cases right now that you're using and that you're seeing reps that we're coaching every day use?
Yeah, by far, admin work like CRM notes, follow-up emails, to your point, discovery call prep. Given, I am in more of an account executive function, I am closing business. That's where my focus is, as opposed to cold calls and emails. And I know you have some bots that are killer there as well. But that is where I'm seeing, and I want to be clear too, because there are tools out there, all respect to them, like Gong, or like other tools that now have AI embedded in them, and they can read a call transcript and create a follow-up email. But even when I'm using a tool like Gong out of the box and I go into its AI like magic summary thing, or I forget exactly what it's called, it's the same exact problem we're talking about, which is, sure, it can scan the transcript, but it's got a very basic prompt, and there's no real easy way to actually implement that. So I actually create these custom projects, to your point, in ChatGPT, literally the $20 a month plan. And all it is you have a dedicated project where it has a clearly defined instruction set already. So you don't even have to create a new prompt every single time or create that structured prompt. So that's one thing I would say is, like, with all of these workflows, even though there are AI embedded recording tools, I'm still downloading the raw recording of any conversation I have, and then I'm putting it through these custom projects that I have. From there, again, huge time save is like really structuring a follow-up email, especially like I just had an hour-long discovery call on Monday. And by the time, it's like in the afternoon, my brain's already pretty fried from the day. And the fact that I can take that transcript and it's got in detail in a structure that I have given it, really specifically laid out, and shows the prospect that I've like very attentively listened to them. Those are the small things that are putting me over the edge. And then certainly also, I would say one I'm exploring a lot more recently is also a proof of concept, what I call like executive assistant. So I have a project where I take all of the notes, all of the transcripts, all of the context from the deal to date. I maybe even provide it like the LinkedIn of the prospects I'm working with, and then the name, a little bit about them, what their title is. And then basically, as I'm going through a proof of concept or a trial or maybe a land and expand motion with them, I'm using ChatGPT to come up with ideas and then also structure a very structured trial. Oftentimes, trials that I do are like a month to a month and a half long at most. And to do that effectively, I have to come up with very clear and reasonable deliverables that both, make sure that they're not using our support team the entire time and like wasting a bunch of our time, but also deliver enough value based on the pain and the problems that we've uncovered in the deal cycle. So having that as a thought engine, even just to bounce ideas off, not just take this and make a plan. It's like, here's all the info. Here's what I'm thinking. Ask me a few more questions to really flush these ideas out. Once I have that conversation with the GPT and it's really dialed in, then I'm like, okay, we have 4 weeks to run a trial. We need to work backwards with a once a week check-in. And then I also need 2 clear deliverables that very clearly show value that we need to accomplish in the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks of the trial. So that's like one very extensive example where I'm using it, but it's like, it's almost hard to quantify right now. But instead of like literally getting a blank PowerPoint template or a blank canvas of a new email, it's hard to put into words, even though it's getting 95% of the way there and I'm tweaking a few things. The cognitive load that it does for me by me not even having to start from like a blank canvas, like it's hard to even quantify how valuable it's been for me in that regard. So
yeah, it's a game changer. That's a great example. And I think really what we're trying to do here too is teach people how to fish and how to adjust these. To your example with Gong, or there's cool tools that will produce a decent output, but you can't go into Gong and change its AI. But if you have your own projects and your own GPTs that have been coded based on your own experience and the exact outputs you're looking for, you don't have to rely on some third party to do this for you. You can go in and make any adjustments that you need. So
totally.
Do we want to show off a couple examples now? How we're using this?
Yeah, let's do it. I can, if it's easy enough, I can just share my screen right here. I'll show you guys kind of what Connor's talking about. So for those of you that aren't aware of what a ChatGPT project or GPT, custom GPT is, you'll see on the left-hand side of my screen, I've got a bunch of different higher levels GPTs. This is part of our AI Sales Accelerator, by the way. So if you are a member of the community, you get all of these out of the box. And then we also teach you how to make these in depth. To Connor's point as well, there are projects, and just maybe a little off script here, but the difference between a GPT and a project is they are almost identical, but a project is specific to your account, and it actually keeps the whole history of every interaction you've had with it, but you can't share it with other people. So if you want to make something, maybe you're a manager or a rep and you want to help your buddies out, make a GPT, because that way you can actually share it. But again, if you're working with something that's specific to you or really detailed to your workflow, I recommend a project because it does the same thing, but it keeps the history of all your interactions and it gets smarter over time.
Yep.
But to Connor's point, I think 2 quick demos we wanted to show of just examples of one where I was about 6 months ago being skeptical. I would come in, and for your reference, if you're seeing my screen with this chat, it's like I would come in and basically say, hey, generate a cold call script for an SRE at Morgan Stanley. For your reference, an SRE is a site reliability engineer, just a specific persona that we call into. I'm saying like, hey, I'm calling from PagerDuty and want to communicate the value of the PagerDuty platform for incident management. Let's see what we get. And I'll zoom in and maybe read this for everyone who's listening and not watching. But basically, it's like, hey, blank, this is Eric from PagerDuty. Did I catch you with a quick minute? And you guys know, if you're actually on the front lines, like, this is bullshit. There's no way that works. And yeah, maybe it's cool that it can write this out. It's cool that it can give you a little bit of an idea. Like, I'm reaching out because we work with SREs at other large financial institutions like JP Morgan and Goldman, who rely on PagerDuty to accelerate incident response across their hybrid environments. It's so generic. It's in the ballpark, but it's in the cheap seats. You know what I mean? Like, this is
some ideas from it, but you're going to have to go in and spend 20 minutes taking this and just putting something new together. And it's that point we always talk about where it's like, we might as well have just started from scratch ourselves. Why did we even go to AI for this? If you're just using generic prompts like this, which is what most people, the extent of how they use ChatGPT is.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I'm kind of scrolling down here for those of you watching as well, just to take a look at some of the other stuff it came up with, like objection handling. And again, like it's not bad, but it's just not great. It's not production ready. And so just a few final thoughts here before I kick it over to Connor. Again, the prompt itself is like, okay. But again, if you really want to get into it, you're going to have to give it a much more structured prompt. Or what we're about to show you is with a GPT, custom GPT and project that Connor made, you can give it this quality of a prompt, but it's already got detailed instructions under the hood, and it actually executes at an extremely high level. Because again, if you need to read or you want to pause and read any of these things that it came up with, like, it's good. But honestly, for me, like I said, really until the beginning of 2025, this is the exact reason I wasn't looking all that seriously into AI, is because I would do this and be like, oh yeah, I'm using AI. It's kind of so. And I didn't know how to structure it in detail. I didn't know how to leverage a GPT or project for repeatable tasks. So I'll throw it in the chat for you, Connor. I'm going to have Connor do the exact same prompt in his custom GPT that he made. And you're going to see the difference. And again, this is like the big unlock that we've been trying to communicate to everyone watching on this channel.
All right. So we're in here, and either we can take the prompt Eric gave me, or it's very simple for any of these. All you have to do is click to get started, and it's going to ask for some basic inputs. So you all hear me talk about coiling the spring a lot. In this case, Eric was reaching out to an SRE at a bank. So if you were trying to build out cold call scripts, and same thing for email templates as well, for SREs at bank, even though this was a specific one, Morgan Stanley, this is how you can use these tools to accelerate that process of coiling the spring I talk about. So I could paste Eric's prompt, but if I was doing this just purely from scratch, I could just say I work at PagerDuty, I sell incident management, targeting an SRE, Morgan Stanley, banking. That's all I have to give it. I can add context if I want, but now, as you can see, assumptive formality, not whatever that, did I catch you for a quick minute or whatever that was. And it goes immediately into the who, why, what, that if any of you, for those of you familiar with my channel watching this, you know that's how I like to structure these cold call scripts, is to front load the value, tell them who you are, why you're reaching out, which is what priorities and challenges you solve, reducing MTTR, improving service reliability, streamlining incident coordination, the priorities and challenges you work on and how you solve them at a high level, and kind of position yourself as a valuable resource going forward. I could have taken that original prompt Eric did and worked backwards and pieced this together, but I just took the upfront effort to spend, it did take some time, quite a few hours to really hone this in and iterate, but I eventually landed on instructions that produce the exact outputs I'm looking for. So we don't have to go too in the weeds. I don't want to turn this into a cold calling video, but this is going to produce 2 versions of my value statement. One that you may be familiar with is where I go straight for the meeting. Another one is where I introduce kind of a pause before going for the meeting. And then it's also going to give you 3 targeted discovery questions, again, in the exact framework that I like to use, ARA and ACE. Again, if you're familiar with those, where you kind of ask, clarify, expand, you ask a question and tell them the reason why you're asking the question, so that you can have these in your back pocket on the call. And all I had to do was type in a few basic keywords. And you can do this either every time you're making a cold call, or if you're trying to build out cold call scripts for SREs at banks. It doesn't necessarily need to be Morgan Stanley or a different title, VPs of IT, whatever. This is how you can get reliable outputs and save yourself a ton of time. And this is literally what I use every single day. This is the exact instruction in GPT I use to make my own cold call scripts. Same thing with overall, or everything over here. So yeah, that's the quick demo. I know, Eric, maybe there's one more you wanted to show too on discovery call transcripts, especially if you're an AE or even an SDR and you just want to help out your AE. I think this is a game-changing use case that I know I use every single day on my job.
Yeah, and 100%. I mean, those of you, again, it's like, I just want to contrast that to where I still feel like 90+% of people are, which is using AI to do something close to this. But by the time they modify it, they're like, I'll just kind of write it from scratch, or maybe I'll just copy paste from a Word document, versus, to Connor's point, spending a couple hours getting these things really dialed in to where you literally give it a simple input and or a transcript, and it does everything exactly like you want it. Like, it is production ready by the time you actually build out these GPTs. And just, again, for anyone who's in an account executive role or even an SDR role right now, as you know, you have a great discovery call, you go to create a formal opportunity. Now you've got all of your notes, your summary of the opportunity. You've got all of your, depending on your organization, BANT, MEDIC, command of the message, like current state, negative consequences, future state, positive business outcomes. You've got all of these notes that you have to organize and put together. You've got to associate all of the contacts with the opportunity. You've got to create all of these different things. So what I'm about to share with you is a tool that I developed specifically to my company needs and workflow. It's not just generically taking notes and summarizing them and making an email. I made this bot extensively that is pulling out the specific criteria, MEDIC, BANT, command of the message. It's also creating an executive summary. It's also outlining based on the conversation the next steps. It's also creating based on several different templates that I gave it. It has and generates automatically a follow-up email. It also, once again, based on templates and prompting that I've given it, is creating the follow-up calendar invite specifically to what was discussed on the call. So I'll share my screen here. And now I'm going to grab this transcript. It's a huge hour-long call, by the way. I just want to give you guys a sense for, very quickly, some of the things that it's doing. Again, not just generically good at summarizing. Like, this is out of the box. I am copy pasting to Salesforce. I am copy pasting to my Gmail and hitting send. And otherwise, as you guys know, you have a really deep call. Maybe you've got back-to-back calls all day. You've got to spend 90 minutes at the end of the day organizing all of this information to then spend an extra hour and a half to 2 hours at the end of the day doing all of this admin shit. And if you do it right after the call now, it's done. And whether or not you actually input it into Salesforce, maybe you still do that at the end of the day, but you have a history here and everything you need is ready out of the box. Copy this over to a Word doc. And at the end of the day, that hour and a half just went to 15 minutes because you're copy pasting. Again, I'll scroll down here. We got like next steps already defined. We've got the current state, negative consequences, future state, positive business outcomes for any of you that are familiar with command of the message. You've got your MEDIC analysis. You've got your BANT qualification criteria. You've got a detailed follow-up email. And you've also got calendar invite details all ready to go. And one thing I want to show you guys too is it's not that it's just like, here's a transcript, here you go. You can come in here now and say, hey, this follow-up email is too long. I need it shortened and highly focused on the executive initiatives, as I will be CCing the CTO who is watching this deal from afar. And now, not only, again, do you have pretty much out of the box ready to go, but you can interact with this data very quickly. So yeah, it's like if you need to majorly overhaul anything, it's got all that context, all of the structure, and it comes in here and very quickly rewrites exactly as you prompt it. So I just can't stress enough, again, like the early learning curve, and like when you don't know what you don't know, it seems like a lot. But the first time or two that you use this and you really start to understand the value, you will never go back to your manual workflows.
Yep.
And that's exactly why I would just add on my end, this is what we built in AI Sales Accelerator. Every single one of these things, these GPTs you see on the left side with the higher levels logo of different colors, these are bots that you get out of the box ready to go. In addition to us teaching you how to make highly custom ones tailored to your specific company and workflow. So yeah.
I know that specific one was a game changer for me. I always hated and was bad at taking notes during discovery calls and relying on those. And now it's so useful for myself, for updating the CRM, for updating my manager or whoever needs to get filled in on a call or an opportunity for people to refer back to the notes. I mean, it's just been a game changer. It allows me to more actively listen. And like you were just saying, those are just 2 use cases. We've built tons of these and we're going to continue building tons of these. That's the point of the community. There is a lot of hype, I think, around AI and sales. You keep hearing things like, I don't know, like AI SDRs automating everything end to end and super intelligence replacing everyone. We're so far from that. This is what you need to be on top of, is identifying these repeatable, recurring use cases that can save you a whole bunch of time and improve your outputs. I just think we're past the point where you can afford to ignore this. So yeah, that's really the focus of AI Sales Accelerator. This is a long-term vision we have to immediately give everyone value out of the box, exchange ideas. We're constantly going to be updating these, improving them, keeping them at the cutting edge, taking feedback. Would love to get ideas from everyone in the community too on how they're using it, and just make sure that everyone in there is on top of this and not getting left behind. So excited to see people in there. Eric, I don't know if you have any final words before heading out.
No, this is great, man. I think for those of you that have been skeptical, understandably so, just block 2 hours. That's my ask, whether it's on the weekend, whether it's before or after work one day. If you spend 2 hours diving into it, you will not see the world the same way, and your life will just get a lot better. That's all I'll say. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So links are in the description, pin comment below, all that. Hope to see you all in there. And yeah, thanks, Eric, for coming on and riffing back and forth on this, because it's an important topic. I'm sure we'll be talking more about it in the future too.
Yeah, no doubt.